Kjære venner, vennligst sett dere ned. Vi klare for å starte dette panelet. Jeg går over på engelsk. Vi har gjester og deltakere som fra utlandet. Så dette panelet kommer til å være på engelsk. So, dear guests, dear participants, we're about ready to start, so please find your seats. This panel will be in English. Our panel participants are from are international, so we're going to have this panel in English, both the discussion and our introduction. But to start off, Arendalsuka is the dance floor of democracy, and without Ukraine and the struggle and the war going on in Ukraine, democracy and our dance floor here in Arendal would be empty and meaningless if Ukraine loses that war. There's a war for freedom and democracy going on right now in Europe. So to kick off the SME Ukraine Democracy and Victory Hub for today, we'll start by I will introduce Lilia Honcharevich. So please come up to the stage, Lilia. We'll have a minute of silence for the heroes of Ukraine. So please, Lilia.
Please stand up for the minute of silence and the national anthem of Ukraine.
Триває війна, розв'язана Росією проти України. Щоранку о 9 годині на всій території нашої держави згадуємо українців, які віддали своє життя. Всіх, хто воював, усіх військових та всіх цивільних, дорослих та дітей, усіх, хто міг би ще жити, якби Росія не почала цю війну. Вічна пам'ять кожному, хто загинув за Україну.
Thank you. Dear friends, welcome to the first ever Ukrainian Democracy and Victory Hub launched at Arendalsuka. It's the first edition of it, and we are looking forward to have it for every year. And with your help, every organization can organize their own panel at this hub for each year that will go. The co-organizer of this Ukrainian Democracy and Victory Hub, we have the honor to have with us SMB Norway. We have the honor with us also to have Arendal Library, Arendal Kalina NGO, Norwegian Helsinki Committee, and many other organizations. You can find the information that is on the table, and we will have the panel till 6 o'clock, a very interesting and very meaningful panel with ambassadors of Canada, Denmark, NHO, and many others. Today's panel is of very great importance. As we say in Ukraine and in all the world, if you would like to go fast, you have to go alone. But if you would like to go for long distance, you have to go together. And here we are together with our partners, with Norway, with a small country with a very big heart. The Ukrainian drone producers are making the revolution on the battlefield. And there is a lot to learn from our Ukrainian drone producers. For the Norwegian can do it a lot. So here we will have a short, small video of one of the drone companies, then the civil society, that shows that civil society and the drone producers, military sector, can work together in order to bring our victory closer. It's the cooperation between the KPSNC Democracy Week, the Ukrainian Arendalsuka, and the Space Drone Production. Please bring the video.
We thank the KPSNC Democratic Week, Lilia Honcharevi, Gear410, and the company SPs for their cooperation. Yes, thanks to this cooperation, positions were defended in certain directions, targets were destroyed, and the lives of our unit soldiers were saved repeatedly.
The direct assistance model means that requests for defense products come directly from military units to manufacturers. Production financing is provided directly to the manufacturer from Northern Europe, under the control of the State Innovation Financial and Credit Institution, under the Ministry of Strategic Industries of Ukraine. Northern European countries create joint defense enterprises in Ukraine, investing in the production of air defense systems, drones, electronic warfare systems, etc. The direct financing model is an investment in the security of the whole of Europe.
The SPAS drone complex is immediately ready for use. The direct assistance model operates promptly and provides every unit with everything necessary. We ask our partners from other countries to join so that we can bring our victory closer.
Thank you, and I wish you a very successful panel.
Thank you so much, Lilia. Then I'll ask our panelists for this discussion to enter the stage. As you guys saw, we're going to discuss how innovators and SMEs, small and medium enterprises, can drive the innovation in the defense sector, and especially in Norway. So I'll ask our esteemed panelists to enter the stage. Katrine Lagerberg, she's a partner in the company InSilent, a firm specializing in operational security and strategic risk analysis for organizations facing complex threats. Her work in translating research-based security insights into actionable intelligence positions her to speak effectively on the role of emerging SMEs in the defense sector, strengthening the sector resilience and creative approach to safeguarding critical operations. So, thank you, Katrine. I'll let you speak shortly. Timothy McGuire, our one foreigner on the panel. The panel, of course, is in English, and our esteemed panelist, Timothy, he's an American, but he's living in Norway, and he's working in venture as a venture consultant at Pentacle, where he bridges the gap between defense innovation and market adoption. With over 15 years of service in the United States Air Force, including roles with NATO Diana and the U.S. Defense Innovation Unit. He now helps defense tech ventures navigate the government capability development and investor relations, positioning him as a strong voice on accelerating dual-use technologies into defense applications. And our next panelist, Kjartan Tveitnes. He's the Managing Director of the Norwegian-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. Kjartan has led efforts to foster resilient and strategic Norwegian-Ukrainian business cooperation amidst the Ukraine, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and he's championing SMEs as is one of our main topics for today, engaging across sectors like energy, manufacturing, and IT, developing valuable perspectives, cross-border collaboration and innovation, and most importantly for this panel, in defense-related projects as well. The Chamber of Commerce has just recently focused on Miltech and defense as in addition to all the sectors that you guys are interested focusing on. And for our last panelist, it's Ola Rock Jacobsen. He's from Safe 24/7 Tech. He's a executive at that company, and he has a long and storied experience in international business, spanning hospitality, IT, real estate, medtech, waste to energy and value across Norway, Australia, the UK, and Spain. With a robust and global network of multilingual capabilities, Ola excels at transforming innovative concepts into operational capabilities, particularly in high-risk environments. His experience is in navigating the defense market enables Ola to know where small and medium enterprises should meet the stringent requirements and scale and to scale the cutting-edge products and technology for development. So to start off, guys, I'll give you. You guys are going to have the handheld mics. I have some water for you as well. I see that you have helped yourselves. So I'll start off with a challenge on the theme of the panel. How can Norwegian innovators, SMEs, get into the defense market of Norway? And I'll start with you, Katrine. Ladies first.
Thank you. Well, I think as the video reflects, it's really impressive what Ukraine is actually adapting to these days. And I think In Norway, we have the saying that nød lærer naken kvinner spinne. And I think meeting with many small companies and even the larger companies, there seems to be no sense of urgency in Norway whatsoever. I think it's like geopolitics and the war in Ukraine. It's like a Netflix series here in Norway. And I think many people are really into it and interesting, but it's like when they go to bed every evening, they are just turning it off and thinking, this is interesting, but doesn't affect me. But I think like in Ukraine, and I think like to meet the future of warfare, there is no way besides the smaller businesses. And I think I will come back to that, I think, but I think many primes and the big companies talk about how we should leverage the smaller companies and the startups, but actually they want to remain the control and the monopoly themselves. And I think it's also important for the armed forces because it is their responsibility to adapt and constantly procure the technology and the equipment that is timely for the armed forces and the threat landscape. But they are not, the procurement processes, which we'll probably touch more upon, it's too bureaucratic and too complex for the SMEs to enter the processes of Norway. So we are nowhere near behind Ukraine, and I think we have a lot to learn.
Thank you. Ola, what's your perspective on that?
I completely agree. I think there is so much to learn about how Ukraine has adapted to their situation. The innovations coming out of there consistently, they have adapted. I think the theater of war has changed a lot from what we believed it looked like from First World War, Second World War, Vietnam, Korea, whatever. You see now that the front lines are completely different than what anybody expected. And I think there's so much to learn. And we need the small and medium-sized innovators to come in to be able to quickly adapt to all the different products, the type of fighting, the type of defending oneself, and it's very inspiring to watch what Ukraine has been able to do.
And Timothy, having a perspective from outside of Norway and from the US, how do you see the small and medium enterprises role in the Norwegian defense sector?
So I'm not going to speak specifically to the Norwegian defense sector, but generally, I mean, what's unique about defense is the role of government in that. Obviously, government controls with monopoly stake what the access to product market fit and to the customer. What we've developed over the last many decades is industry that controls the access to those. That's a proxy for that. That's existed throughout the Cold War, and that's existed throughout the peace dividend. So what we see now and what we're waking up to with the events, with the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, for example, is the development cycle just moves too fast for any intermediaries. That's true for governments, that's true for industry. I also don't want to paint the primes necessarily as necessarily evil in this case. I'm not going to say that, specifically because they're a product of what governments, how difficult it is to do business with government. So the responsibility of governments is to be able to, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is to communicate what those needs are as quickly as possible. What we're seeing in Ukraine, the development cycle is absolutely everything, and the only entities that can respond to that as quickly as that are the warfighters themselves and small businesses. So taking those requirements, those tactics, techniques, and procedures that are developed every day, how do we communicate those, build those into their processes? They're doing that already on the battlefield. But the technology developments on the smaller level, that's at maybe a 4-week to 6-week process. Government procurements is based on a 3 to 15-year process typically. So that just doesn't work. That doesn't work for any country in the alliance, and we need to reform that.
Thank you. And lastly, Kjartan, the Chamber of Commerce. How are you? What kind of experiences and lessons learned do you see for the defense sector in Norway to learn from Ukraine and how it's developing there right now?
Yeah, and I can only echo what my other panelists here, my colleagues here have said, that the modern warfare has shown us that we need to diversify. In Ukraine, the whole society has been mobilized. There are engineers, IT developers, there's tax inspectors we heard the other day that now operates in the same organizations. And they have a strong drive for innovation and they have a drive to survive. And we don't feel that in Norway. And we need to learn, we need to go there and engage with Ukraine. We need to battle test our experiences or our products, or products that the audience here might have here today. And we should, of course, be very thankful for what Ukraine is doing. They're fighting for themselves, yes, but also for Europe and for our shared values.
And like Timothy said as well, the process of from an idea to testing it out and going into production is quite short in Ukraine. And compared to what we're used to in Norway, we're speaking about months in Ukraine and years in Norway. How do you guys see the way forward for particularly SMEs to contribute to the defense sector? I can start off with you, Katarina.
Well, I think just want to say 99% of Norwegian businesses are SMEs, so they don't reflect the exception. They reflect the majority of all businesses. So it is a problem, and mostly they don't have the resources in-house or even the competence to navigate these procurement processes. And I think it's just like looking at the foreign investment regulations that were updated last year, but it's been 1.5 years and it's still in a drawer and hasn't been approved yet. So I think there's no sense of urgency in Norway, and I think like even the US, they have taken quite a lot of action to build quicker processes for the SMEs and startups so they can enter the defense industry. But I think in Norway we are really good at talking and talking about talking and talking about more talking. So I think we need to completely change, and I think that the private industries and private investors and the private companies are actually taking the lead. They don't want to wait for the governments anymore. That's why I think the dual use has a lot of opportunity, because it's not real defense, but it has more opportunities and it doesn't have to follow the same regulations. But I think in order to actually seize the momentum, we need to leverage it now, and we need to do it now, because otherwise the innovation and technology lead will go to other nations that actually do. So,
I would completely agree with that. As far as the where do you build the access points for small medium-sized businesses within Norway and generally to be able to access? It's not for everybody to jump straight into defense. It is a very difficult market, just understanding the realities there. So dual use, it's not the most useful of terms, but it is a bridging term. It's not a sector in itself, but it is a strategy to expand your total market segment. It's a way to pivot from one industry into another with that roadmap. So so what I've seen in my only about 1.5 years in Norway is companies pivoting into defense from what would be forestry, from fishing, from energy. Those are all completely valid sectors. And from the U.S. perspective, because I can only remember the U.S. numbers here, about 60% of what Department of Defense buys has nothing related to the kill chain itself. So if you're looking to break in and get government sales, you do that through dual use is a path.
Well, I mean, I think one of the key points is we need simpler bidding processes. We need quicker decisions, fairer funding to help small businesses shine. Norway support programs through Innovation Norway and Nansen program and so forth, they're a good start, but they need to be easier to access. Because if you look at call it the bigger companies, the primers, as we call them, they have people fully dedicated that work 100% of their time simply applying for these funds. It means that, and so they get them, and for small and medium-sized business, it's too complicated. So in many times they just end up giving up. Or, which has been known to happen as well, they go abroad, where there are quicker, easier access to funds, and where they're much more help in relation to legislation and how to make things work and become productive.
And Kjartan, what kind of lessons can we learn from Ukraine in this respect?
Yeah, and I also want to also come up with the success stories, because there are actually a lot of things moving. The ball is moving forward, although slow. But we have a member company, an SMB, that is there will be a press release today or tomorrow that will come up, and that showcases that there's an idea and a product in Norway that have applied FFI, as a forsvaret forskningsinstitutt, for this innovation defense innovation fund that have been titled some money there. They are now having a larger contract in Ukraine, thanks to the virkemiddelapparat that we have here in Norway. And we have also supported them in their, let's say, reach out in Ukraine. And there are more. We have a meetup on defense and dual tech innovation in Oslo next week. We have another one in Trondheim in the week after that. And there's larger, let's say, defense or dual tech related conferences also in Ukraine, where I would urge people to travel in if they feel it fit. And that's coming up. There's one late August now, and there's another one in mid-September. So there's a lot of arenas here to engage with Ukraine, to learn, to find good partners, and also to then move your, let's say, product closer and to get it battle tested, really, both software, hardware, in Ukraine.
But to expand on that, when you see the processes in Ukraine, how can we, for Norway, learn from how Ukraine and the government of Ukraine is doing this?
We need to learn in a way that they are fighting a near-peer war that we have not we are not prepared for, where they are where we have, let's say, few expensive, very good products, but they have the scale, the volume, they have cheaper. They manage to make it very quickly. That we need to learn from. Also, of course, now to support the war in Ukraine, but also to fill our stocks, to fill the European stocks, from now on and forward. And that mindset is not there now. And from my point of view, we need to engage more. We need to travel more. We need to talk more with our Ukrainian friends, because they are now the most equipped, the best equipped, and the most battle-ready armed forces in Europe, in the world.
Katarina?
No, I think I want to touch upon what you said, because I represent a startup myself, and I think we've also looked upon like support from Diana and Innovation Norway, which are cheering on you and they're supporting you, but the process of even writing those applications are so tedious that within the time you've actually got an answer, it's taken so many months. Then you need to start the next program. We just decided not to, because it, there's this saying, I think it's called the Valley of Death for startups. So after one year, most companies are bankrupt. So, and within this year, most of the companies don't have even the time or resources to write those applications, either if it's Diana, Innovation Norway, or the Defense Innovation Unit, or FFI. So I think we need to merge them and find a quicker way to fast track this, and also take risks, because these companies, unless we take risk, we will just have a stable, we will just end up having government procurements, because these smaller companies come with risks, but also really, really big opportunities.
So we end up doing exactly the same that we've been doing all along.
I think you can, Katarina, touched upon something very important there, risk-taking culture. And the defense sector, of course, the main customer, if I can call it that, is the government, and the Norwegian government, not too dissimilar from other European governments or governments. That is a culture of not taking risks. So from an outside perspective, Timothy, how do you view the risk-taking culture of the Norwegian defense sector?
I don't think I can plead the fifth in Norway. No, I think there's two principles that need to be focused on, speed and competition. There's a lot of everything else like risk I would subordinate within that. So everything we can do to support competition generally, that's among primes, that's among startups. It gives more access and more shots on goal generally, and then speed. So everything we should be doing is from a sense of speed and urgency. Obviously, that's not felt here, but I don't want to pick on Norway either. That's not felt in most of Europe right now. That is a challenge that all of Europe has. That's a challenge that the U.S. has. We're all behind. We all need to play catch up. Some things that we can do though. So like I was asked once, what's the point of speaking on behalf of government about all of this, because it's not moving and it does very little good for startups. When I get up on stage and talk about how much better it was than before, if you still don't have the runway that you need to be able to sell to government. So is this, when I'm engaging with companies, is it business development for them? Am I giving them something that's actually helpful? Or is it charity work on their part that's going to help me reform government and it's not actually going to benefit the companies themselves? So to keep it simple, understanding where those front doors are, understand that your goal is to ask the right questions and find those agencies that are mandated, I would say, or have the most access, that like these innovation organizations that are coming around. You don't have to just stick within Norway in many of these cases. Like I was at NATO Diana for a year and a half. We're building out this federated network. That's what we were doing. There's pathways through other countries. You can go around the structure if you need to, in some cases. Those do move faster, and that helps pioneer and catalyze and teach, lead by example in any of those cases. So to answer your question, I mean, maybe not on the risk-taking. There's other ways to get creative around that. It's getting better, not fast enough.
Well, I mean, listen, I represent a company called Safe 24/7. We've taken a different approach in many ways, because we're proud to be part of the Seed Forum Global and Seed Forum Ukraine ecosystem, which means we're tapping into 500 plus startup companies in Ukraine. A lot of them started by veterans and so forth, where we approach them for their product to see what works and what doesn't, to then turn around and produce that in Norway. Yeah? We also have a facility being built in the Philippines and also one in Texas to cover different markets and different opportunities. And Ukraine shows us that small, nimble companies can create game-changing tech. Yeah? But here, the system blocks us. So we've opened manufacturing facilities outside of Norway simply to ensure our possibility to grow unhindered. Yeah? It shouldn't be necessary.
To expand on that, Kjartan, the Chamber of Commerce has, of course, knowledge about both the Norwegian sector and the Ukrainian sector. And like Ola mentioned, when we see the defense sector in Ukraine, of course, they have a completely different sense of urgency with an ongoing war. But can you point to some specific lessons that we can introduce to the Norwegian companies and defense sector, especially for procurement, like forsvarsmateriell, what we can do in Norway to mirror what the speed of access in like we see in Ukraine?
Well, we need to reform our procurement system. It was made for a different time, for a different purpose, and again, we need to talk and we need to engage. Forsvarsmateriell need to travel to Ukraine and talk to their counterparts there. There is a lot going on there. There's a lot of also Norwegian initiative to supporting their procurement reform in Ukraine, which is also, let's say, was difficult in the past. It's still a lot of challenges, but it is. There are Norwegian, let's say, bodies involved in reforming also in Ukraine now. And the lessons learned from that, we need to bring back home. We need to share with the alliance partners, so that we will be able to learn from this war. Because, make no mistake, Russia and China is, and we need to adapt quicker. We need to reform quicker, enable to to keep up really. And there's a lot of initiatives in Ukraine. There's a lot of associations also there. So to understand this, let's say, jungle of associations and interest groups, it's good to have someone to discuss it with, and the chambers want to do that with. So we also opened in April this Norwegian-Ukrainian Business Hub in Kyiv. So we have 3 people. The chamber has 3 people there. Innovation Norway has 1. But we are there. Our door is open. So if you have a business case that you want to discuss with us, that you want to bring to Ukraine, that's an excellent opportunity to start.
I think that's a great example. I mean, finding the enablers, finding those that are willing to help. I mean, this is kind of a movement. I mean, this starts grassroots. You need to collaborate. You need to engage. You need to find those allies in the space. So I mean, they will help navigate that path. And I was trying to think of an example. So I was stalling before. Something I was told is Norwegians don't engage. They don't network. I was told by a Norwegian once, we've never seen the value of networking. That's what we pay Americans and Brits for. That's why we do all the blah, blah, blah. So I would just think about, like, in that risk calculation, the risk of inaction is more than the risk of like, and that applies for many different fields.
Katarina?
I think I'll just echo that, and I think it's like you mentioned China, and I think time has been the democracies on the democracy side, but I think we are definitely seeing a change where it's the autocratic nations side, because they are proactive and we are really reactive, and we are. I think we need to change our mind that this is a switch, and I think this is what I think is the leverage that SMEs could use, and it's like we need to acknowledge that supply chain risk warfare it's out there, and I think the larger the companies are, like if we mention the big primes, they have thousands of suppliers, and smaller SMEs and even startups can early on establish secure and home sourced regional and local supply chains that are more secure and resilient. So, and I think I spoke to a diplomat from Estonia, and they said that those are the ones who actually win the tenders if they can prove that they have no exact critical Chinese components. So it's like we need to think differently, and I think that's also good news for Norwegian and European startups who want to enter the defense industry. There are lots of opportunities, but we also need to help them. And I think, like what you mentioned, like dual use, we could also look at it as like a bridging technology, where we take the best of civilian research and the civilian world and the benefit for the defense. It's one foot in each camp.
Another thing that's quite important when it comes
to cut you off there, Ola, we could be speaking about this for hours, obviously, but we only have our allotted time for this event and this panel. So I'll give each of you a opportunity to give a closing remark. But I'd like to challenge you, each of you, for the challenge, for the closing remark. How can Norwegian SMEs get into the defense sector, being a innovator supplier, and get their technology into allied hands and create a safer future? How can small companies do that in Norway? So you were very eager, Ola. I'll give you,
okay,
the
thanks,
first shot.
I really think that there needs to be a point of contact, basically an innovation hub, somewhere where you can actually present your ideas, present what you have, yeah, where you will get unbiased advice in relation to what it is and the potential for it. Somewhere where you're not mingling in with multi-billion-dollar contracts and so forth, and like we call the big primes, because they're not the ones to pitch it. You need to have an organization, an institution, something like this, where you can actually go, like I said, unbiased, where you present it and you get help and guidance to actually help you through it. That to me is, whether that's multiple ones that are organized in a pyramid, like in some form, or what, I don't know, but it needs to be something like this to be able to give individual attention to the innovation that's actually out there.
Timothy?
Think about what your unique selling point is as a company, because the reality of doing business in Europe is partnering with others. So my short recommendation is understand what you do well, partner with others that, including international partners, to help you get into those international markets.
Katarina?
I think I want to mention, as Timothy has as well, networking is important. And I think if you don't have the network, reach out for someone who can enter you to the network. And I think also strive to be and show that you are prepared for the questions that comes from the Ministry of Defense or forsvarsmateriell, like that you've made the right decisions, you've hired the right employees, you've done the right security checks when you're starting the business, so that you're prepared to enter the defense industry if that's what you want to do, because otherwise it might take a while if you need to reinvent the whole cycle of supply chain. And yeah.
Kjartan?
Yeah, I can echo that. Come prepared. That always helps. And there are arenas to engage. So if you are interested, please come and talk to me. There are several arenas coming up in the next few weeks. So if you are already prepared, there are. Let's talk.
Okay, thank you so much to all our panelists. I think we can agree upon one thing, is that small and medium enterprises are important players in the defense sector and the future of our common security, and developing the technology that will ensure that our society and the security of Europe and the West is in good hands for the future. So please give an applause to our panelists. And thank you to everyone that listened to our panel, and I wish you a good day.